Drape and Blind software is software that has been designed specifically for the windows furnishing retailer. It has been in existence for 22 years now, so most of what the industry requires has been built into the software. We will see how you can generate quotes. You can keep track of those quotes. You can raise purchase orders, keep track of those purchase orders. You can check the invoices that come in from suppliers. You can maintain your own price lists. Or if you choose to subscribe to our data maintenance services, you can simply come in here and import those price lists and we'll have maintained those for you. You can receive goods into the warehouse, which will then update your purchase order tracker. Let's quickly have a look at the master files so that you can understand where some of this information is going to come from when we're quoting. So this is your manufacturer's price list set up in here. We have the manufacturer. We have basically the products that that manufacturer sells, and then the price list associated with those products. It does allow you to import Excel spreadsheets. In here, your fabric suppliers, you can maintain those fabric suppliers and their costs. Sundry item suppliers, which are the bits and pieces, the motorization, the remote controls, the reinforced brackets, all that sort of product that can be added onto a quote to supplement the price of the treatment styles. Installers' processes and costs, the tasks that they perform and how much they charge you for them, or if they're internal installers, what you charge them out at. Your track costs, your track suppliers, track costs, and again you can import track grids so that your price list can be maintained by yourselves. Down here, just information that is used to populate some of the drop-down lists when we're quoting. Not really affecting dollars down here. Up here is your dollar area. So let's go to quotes and jobs. And if I search for a customer, it will come back with a list of the quotes that we have done for that customer in the past. And if we have a look on the right-hand side here, we can see the products that have been associated to that quote for that customer. We can create a new customer here. Oops. Clifton Hill. We've got the town, suburbs, postcodes down here. If that's the mobile phone, you hover over things, the system will give you little tooltips to let you know what you can do in there. These drop-down lists were in the master files and you can maintain these. You can then subsequently generate reports as to how many hits you've had associated with a particular promotion. You can categorize customers and you can flag customers after a job's been completed so that you know whether you want to work for them again in the future. You can key in appointment dates and times while you're talking to the customer, organising a suitable time to go out and do a demonstration. And when you click on appointment, it will create an appointment in your Google Calendar or Outlook calendar, depending on what's been set up for you. We interface to 3 accounting systems, Xero, MYOB, and QuickBooks. You would not push it through at this point. You wait until the customer's gone ahead with the job, and then you can push it all through at that point. Having created the customer, we can now create a new quote for the customer. This is where we set up the locations in the home. Having set up the locations, we can now discuss with the customer what products they're going to allocate to these locations. So we're going to use a combination of a curtain and a roller blind in bedroom 1, window 2, and we'll use those same products throughout the remainder of the house. The family room, we may as well do something different just so you can see how that works. And we'll set up some shutters in the family room. We can come in here to add measurements to those windows, not necessarily the product going on the window. We store the product, the measurement against the window, as well as the product later on, but at least you've always got your measurements against the windows if they change their mind on the products. So we can say this is 1400 by 1800 for the inside measurement. Now the curtain is going to go past, and it might go past 200 either side, so that would then become 1800. And if it goes to the floor, it might be 1850. Now we can use various ways of getting information into the system. You can obviously just type it in as we're doing now. You can use the numeric keypad if you're using a touchscreen tablet while you're in the customer's home. So you can just tap on the numbers, 1855, click there, and it'll put that number in there for you. You can also use a Leica Disto E7100 Bluetooth measure, and when you measure and send, the numbers will jump straight into the box that you're currently sitting in. You can also use our Easy Measure app, which allows you to dictate to your mobile phone the measurements. So you can actually say 1400 and it will put that number into the box you're in. So there are various ways. We don't limit you on how you can get the numbers into the system. Now, just to save a bit of time, I'm going to copy those numbers to the other windows. In real life, unlikely to happen, but if you're working off a floor plan, there's a distinct possibility that those other windows may be the same size. So if we go down to bedroom 4 here now, I'll just change some of these just so you can see that the system will adjust things as we're copying the product around the house. And if we come down to the family room, we're doing shutters, and we can put in things like 3 measurements. Let's say that's and the drop might be, and we'll leave it at that. Okay, let's go back to the quote. Just to explain this down here, if you're doing work for a builder or an architect, they can sometimes supply you with an Excel spreadsheet of those locations and the dimensions, which makes it very easy for you to then import them, allocate product, and then copy that product around the rest of the building, allowing you to get quotes for hundreds of windows out very, very quickly. The curtain is the most complex screen in the system. Um, it's automatically picked up that particular workroom as the standard workroom that this business uses. We can then select the style of curtain that we're going to put on that window. We can select a fabric supplier. We can select a fabric. You'll notice in here we have the roll widths and the pattern repeats, and whether they are continuous or not. We can then select the lining supplier, and we can select an appropriately sized lining. Whether there are two curtains or one center opening or one-way draw, I can then use the measurements that we took earlier by double clicking and bring them down here. It's going to be face fix. We can put in a return size and an overlap size if we need to. We can key in the tape size and the heading height here if you want to. Select your hooks, select your track supplier, select your track. And click on the calc. It has now gone away and it has selected, calculated the number of widths and the cut length for you for both the curtain and the lining, the total sell here of the fabric, of the workroom, of the track, and the installation costs have been added automatically. You set those up and decide what processes are going to be used by default whenever you sell a curtain. You can come into here, click new. Customer may have asked you to remove the existing fittings. So this will do three things. It will increase the cost of the quote. It will add further instructions to the installers. Each one of these are an instruction to the installer as to what they have to do on that particular window and product. And if you allocate times against these, it will make it easier for less skilled staff in the office to actually schedule the installer's work, because it'll add up all of these times and tell the office staff about how long it's going to take to do this installation process. We can now move to the roller blind. TWC is the standard supplier for this business, roller blinds. These represent the price grids. Each one of those is a different price grid. Each one of those can have different fabrics and colors and different base bars. If we have a white, we can enter that in and click on the green plus, and that will add it to the list for use later as well. Since this is a roller blind, I'll use the inside measurement. White plastic chain. We don't have any in here. It's an 1800 drop, so let's do 1600 chain and calc. So it's gone away and found the cell. Pretty easy for the roller blinds, pretty quick. We can now go into simple copy, and we're copying from this bedroom one, window one, where we've just done the quote. We're copying this product, and we want to copy that product to those locations using this type of measurement, not the number, but the treatment width and treatment drop, and copy to selection, and yes. So that runs through copying all of those to those other locations. We can now take the roller blind and we can say we want to copy the roller blind to bedroom one, window two, and bedroom four. And we're going to use the inside width and drop and copy to selection. So now we've done all of those, and we can come to the shutters. We haven't set up a default supplier for the shutters. We can select the classic timber using that measurement. We need for 1400 6 panels. No, 4 panels. Elliptical, you can decide what you want to do here, whether you have these in here or not. And it's telling me that I have a recommended retail price, but no discount has been applied. And it's asked me if I know what the discount is that we get, and we might get minus 35 and apply that. So that will then correct the price for us. So there we go, we've done the quote. We can print that quote out here now. And there are a variety of styles of quote that you can print out, depending what you want to do. That's one style. Go down to the last page here. You can key in your brief information here that's relevant to the quote. More verbose terms and conditions can appear at the bottom here. You'll notice that there's a minimum installation charge that's been allocated to ensure that you charge that if it's a single roller blind rather than the base $25 or whatever it is that the installer will charge. You can remove that quite easily from the quote, or you don't have to have it here at all. It's entirely how you decide to set up the system. The deposit required, and you key in to the system what percentage of the total quote your deposit needs to be. Okay, having done all that, we can take photos of windows and allocate photos to the quote for the manufacturer. They will not print on the quote, but they will print out for the manufacturer, the installer, or the fabric supplier. You decide who you're going to send those quotes to. Sorry, track supplier. So it's manufacturer, installer, or track supplier that the drawings will get sent to. In the comments area here, you can key in for each product. You can key in comments to the customer, the fabric supplier, the manufacturer, the track supplier, and the installer. We can now go ahead and I'll just show you some other things here before we go ahead and raise the orders. The customer may ask for a cheaper quote, would like to look at a cheaper fabric. So we can now take a copy of that quote, and that's another version of the same quote. And we'll tell you it's a copy of the one above. So it knows that they are in fact a single quote. We can come into here and we can go to the fabric. We can change that fabric. It's recalculating it all at the moment. So it'll take a moment for it to go through and recalculate it all. And we can choose a new supplier and a different fabric with a different roll width and a different pattern repeat and change fabric. So that has now run through and changed that fabric on the quote wherever it may have appeared. It could have been on the curtains, as it is in this case. It might have been used as piping, might have been used as cushions, helmets, Roman blinds, wherever it has appeared, the system has now recalculated it all for you. And when we come back down into here, we can have a look at the 757 as opposed to what it was on the previous quote. $2,296. So we've taken $2,000 off the price of the quote simply by changing the fabric. You can do a similar thing with the blinds as well, in that you can go to one of the roller blinds and you can change. And you can change the colour or the base bar. They don't really affect the prices in most instances. In this case, we'll go for a sunscreen group 1 from TWC. It'll take a moment to work through this, and we'll change it back to another supplier and another blind. So we can go to AWF, for example, and we can select the group 1 plain and change. Gives us a couple of warnings about what it's going to do, and then it'll just move those blinds into those positions, the new blinds, and recalculate it all for you. So it makes it very easy for you to give customers various alternatives for the one quote. We can approve that, and the customer may have said the shutters are perhaps a bit too expensive, and we'll leave those off for the time being, so I can remove those from the purchase order, from the quote, and regenerate that quote here, and that'll print that quote out without the shutters on them. So there are no shutters on this one, and it is $1,000 cheaper. We can now enter a date of sale. If you're interfacing to the accounting system, you would then at this point here, click on your accounting button, double click on the invoice accepted total, click on 0 and push that through to your accounting system as an accounts receivable entry. It would create the customer for you, and then it would create the sales order for you. That has now raised the purchase orders for all those different products, fabrics, linings, tracks. And if we now have a look here, it says that the orders have been raised. And it will not allow you to make changes to this now. It's locked down. And we can see here that this has been discarded and the orders are raised. So we come into the purchase orders now, and there's Michelle Marsh, and you can see the fabric order, and you can print that out. And as soon as you print this out, it considers it having been sent off to the supplier, and you can email that off to your fabric supplier. You see we've got a date in here now when it was sent to the supplier. It has your cuts and cut lengths in there, making it easy for your fabric supplier to provide you what you need. Similarly for the lining, let's go and have a look at the curtain workroom order. There are 13 different styles of curtain workroom order, and each workroom can decide to use a different style. So you can decide, or you and the workroom can decide which one each one is going to receive, and that's what they will get from then on. They are very different. They will have different pieces of information on them, and they'll be laid out differently. Some of them will carry the fabric and the lining down against each line. Others prefer to have the fabric and the lining in the header, and if either of them change, you will get a different page with the relevant rooms with that fabric and lining. So it depends on what they want to see. The installer will print out two types of document. One is a summary listing the products that they need to pick up, just making it a bit easier for them. 5 curtains, 5 tracks, and 3 roller blinds. We didn't go ahead with the shutters. We closed that. And then down here is the actual worksheet that the installers will work from with the processes that they've been instructed to do. And depending on whether you're using internal staff or contract staff, you can decide to display the dollar values associated with each of those processes, with a dollar value over on the right-hand side for that window. And then on the last page, you'd have a total dollars here. And there's the time that has been allocated for this particular job based on the times you've allocated for each of the processes in the master file area. As product comes in, you'll receive goods. It comes back with Arctic 26.5 meters, double click to indicate that it's been delivered. So when we then come into the purchase order tracker, should refresh it first, and then we select, you can see here that the fabric's been delivered. So it makes it easy to identify which products you're still waiting on and which ones to chase up, and when they're supposedly required, when they were ordered, and when the anticipated delivery date was going to be. You can do part receipts of product. There's only one on that, but you go down to the curtains here. So PwC, the blind suppliers, so you might get some in and not others. It will tell you which ones you've received. And then once the invoices come in, you can now see that you're expecting to pay 1934. You can key in an invoice number, an invoice date. You can say they're all okay, or you can change the dollar values to reflect what you're actually paying if it varies for any specific reason. And that would then allow you to push it through to your accounting package and an accounts payable entry. So that's the invoice entry in the quote tracker. We didn't have a look at the quote tracker up here. So in here, you can keep track of the quotes that have yet to have a decision made on them. And for any one of these, you can choose to come up here and say it has not been approved. Customers said go away, we were too expensive, save that, and it'll disappear out of here. You can approve jobs as well. And when you approve a job, it will wait for money to come in, and then you can raise the purchase orders on it. So that's basically the processes. There's a whole lot of reporting and things that go on, but that's basically the process where you key in the customer, you key in your quote, keep track of that quote, you raise the purchase orders, you keep track of those purchase orders. When invoices come in, you check the invoices off to ensure that you're being invoiced the amounts that you expect. Thanks very much for taking the time to consider Drape and Blind software. I hope that was useful.